I'm Nick.
And I'm Justin. We are the Epic Film Guys, and we'd like just a moment of your time to talk about an extremely important event coming up this May.
Last year, we hosted the live stream for The Cure, a 12-hour live stream fundraiser where we raised $2,500 for the Cancer Research Institute.
86 cents out of every dollar raised goes to research toward finding a cure.
And this year, we're aiming to smash that goal, and we need your help to do it.
Join us from May 18th through the 20th for 30 hours of amazing live stream content from us and a whole host of amazing podcasters who will be joining us to try to reach $5,000.
For more information, please visit www.livestreamforthecure.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Hey there, I'm Podcast Rob.
And I'm James Hatton of the Something Something Cast.
And we are here to urge you to check out Epic Film Guys' live stream for The Cure 2.0. They're live streaming for 30 hours to raise money for the Cancer Research Institute. They did $2,500 last year. They'd love to double that for this year. Follow them on Twitter at Epic Film Guys. Check out their website at epicfilmguys.com. Check it out, donate for the cause, and help some people out.
It's a great cause, it's great people, and you can help too. May 18th through 20th, check it out.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, here we go. Something. Okay, here we go.
Welcome, everybody. It is time for an episode of the Something Something Cast.
Something cast.
I'm James Hatton.
I'm Podcast Rob.
And it is, hi. Hey,
What's
up? What's going on, brother?
Not a whole lot.
Now that the world has melted and we are back to a state of winter bliss, even though it's goddamn spring.
Jesus fuck. I was at work today and it was raining sleet onto my face for about 30 seconds as I was helping a customer outside my store. And I said, "Wow, look at this. It's snowing." And the guy goes, "Well, you know, it is winter." And I said, "Well, you know, the calendar would have something to say about that." And he was like, "Oh, yeah.
The vernal equinox.
No, it's not anymore, is it?"
No. Yeah, Britt said that earlier today, when she was driving, there was some snow. I'm just done. I love winter. I love cold. I love it when it's a little chillier. I'm done. I'm just fucking done. I just want to have
it's annoying. And what I hate more is, you know, we just had this, you know, the second warning of snowpocalypse was supposed to happen last week with like 16 to 18 inches of snow. And I don't know what happened where you are, but I got like 4.
Something, yeah, similar.
I'm not going to hate on the weatherman for it, because I would rather say, holy fuck, we might get 18 inches of snow. Let's make sure I have rock salt. Let's make sure there's gas in the snowblower. Where are the shovels? Where are my boots, kind of thing.
Yep, 100%.
Then to go, hey, we might get a dusting, and then, you know, can't open the front fucking door because there's so much snow. But, you know, there are mouth breathers in the world who the next time they say, hey, we're going to get 12 to 14, they're going to say, fuck you, wear my shorts. And they're going to, you know, they're the people that are going to need to be helped because they're stuck on a highway. And because they're in their rear-wheel drive vehicles with the sunroof open.
And to the same, though, since we're in Jersey and there's, you know, mountains, valleys, and hills abound, I know people who did get that 10 inches. It just so happened they were at a much higher elevation than us.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Or, you know, that north and west of the city that they always talk about. Mm-hmm. And you can go 10 minutes north where I live, and all of a sudden there's a foot of snow on the ground. And, I mean, you know, that's not very far.
Right.
But,
we
survived, this one.
I just want to have there was a day somewhere in the middle of February, I think, where I was like, oh, I got a t-shirt today and a light jacket. I can be pleasant as I walk around. And now, like a week later, I was like, it's freezing again in my jacket and blah.
Yeah.
I just want to put away my scarf, is all I'm saying.
No, I hear you.
Anything else interesting in the hood?
I'm working on a side hustle.
All right.
I have shown you pictures.
Yes, you have, and they're very, very neat.
I'm working on custom canvases. I'm not sure what I'm going to call my venture yet. I haven't come up with a name that I really like. But I'm looking to take commissions. I'm doing 5x7 acrylic on canvas paintings of like characters,
Sure.
but not full body characters, just like a section of their costume, but a section that's easily recognizable. When you look at it, people go, "Oh, I know what that is." Kind of a slightly minimalist design kind of thing.
Yeah, they're super fun.
Yeah, I'm working on getting that off the ground, and hopefully in the next month or so, I'll have some sort of website that people can go to and see them and figure out some sort of payment options and possibilities. But I mean, if you see any of the pictures on Twitter and you have any questions about them, or you see them on Facebook, just hit me up and we'll talk. We'll figure something out.
And also talking about how to pay some bills.
Oh,
Yeah. You can
was that a lead into our Patreon?
That was not also, but we can talk about the Patreon. So please, why don't you do that one?
I suck. No, you first. Go right ahead.
I was going to say to pay some bills, you can also go to audibletrial.com/something. Yes, and if you do, you will get 30-day membership. You'll be in the Audacity Trial/something club, where you will get all of the benefits and deals that regular Audacity members, but you get them for free for 30 days, including your one chip, your one free audiobook, and that could be any book that they present audio. If you want to get yourself a large Game of Thronesian-like epic, you surely can. If you want to get something more chill and short, the Tao of Pooh or something fun like that, you can also do that. You can choose your book.
I have to see if they have the Idiot's Guide to Side Hustle.
You want to know.
That's what I need.
So, you will get all the benefits, the deals, the coupons, the savings, and that is free. audibletrial.com/something. There you go.
Excellent. And on the Patreon front, if you would like to help support our show, if you like what you hear, $2 a month. You can go to patreon.com/somethingcast. Not only are you currently listening to what you get for free every other week, but on the off weeks that we don't do the podcast, you can become a patron and get a episode of our radio drama, which is a recurring drama that we're doing. We're in our third radio drama currently. And you will also get our Patreon-only show, Something This Week. So check it out, patreon.com/somethingcast, $2 a month. We're going to add some additional tiers in the very near future, so you can get some extra stuff, but help support our show. Helps us do bigger and better things. And
exactly.
speaking of bigger and better things, this we're not actually doing an episode. We're just talking about shit we're going to be doing.
It's about weather and places to go.
We are going to be at the Garden State Comic Festival held at the Showboat, what used to be the Showboat Casino in Atlantic City. I believe it's the Showboat Convention Center now, in Atlantic City on April 7th. They've got some really cool guests down there, a lot of comic book artists, a lot of cosplay artists, a lot of actors. Summer Glau is going to be down there. Eric Roberts is going to be down there.
And you will see me walking around looking disappointed and trying to figure out how I'm going to get home because I lost my car in video poker.
Yeah, no, that's no good. That we can't let happen. But we will be down there representing the Something Cast. So if you're listening to this and you're going to be down there, shoot us a message, hit us a tweet on the Facebook, hit us an email too. If you're another podcast and you're listening to this, hey, let us know too. Be cool to meet up and
have a drink.
Yeah, absolutely.
And last but not least, I do believe we have one last sponsor to hit before we get to bulk episode stuff. Do you want to hit?
We do, absolutely. We are sponsored in part by Quixotic Games, creator of Dungeon Alliance. It is a 1 to 4 player dungeon crawl / deck building game. The dungeon changes all the time. There's dungeon tiles with different layouts. There are rules for cooperative play, competitive play, and solo play, where the icons on the card will actually tell you what to do with the bad guys if you want to play against yourself. Found at all great retailers that carry board games, also available online. I will say that we have since found out that the first printing of the game has sold out at the warehouse level, which means distributors and stores will still have copies.
Yes.
So if you go to your local gaming store and they do not have a copy, tell them to contact the distributor so they can get some copies. They will be doing a second printing sometime in the very near future. I don't know the details of when or how many, but they are still available out there. Just the warehouse level has sold, which is a great sign because it's gotten some great reviews.
And on that note, if you did happen to buy a copy because you heard us mention it, please let them know. It helps them recognize that, we're helping out. Say, oh, heard about the something cast. This is the greatest game I've ever played. It's much better than Cats. I'm going to play it again and again. And we'll thank you.
Yep, check them out and all their other games that they do over at quixoticgames.com.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da, sales. So, which brings us to this episode, which is a...
Speaking of drinking...
of abundant drinking.
Yes.
This is it's a bit of a change-up. We are doing a Marvel Netflix series, just the two of us sitting, shooting the shit.
We're going back to basics. We're doing this one in-house. No surprise guests, no third voice, no extra person on the panel. Just Hatton and Rob shooting the shit, talking about Marvel's Jessica Jones Season 2. And
if there is any pair of podcasters out there who are the prime demographic and people that should be talking an episode, a series that deals with PTSD, violence, addiction, and obsessive personalities, it's clearly...
and strong female characters.
Exactly. It's two... cisgen white guys from the middle of New Jersey.
Yeah, goddamn right. Because we have opinions.
And you can't spell opinion without penis. You can. It's fine.
Wow. Awkward.
So let's start us off. What'd you think, brother?
See, this is where, when we were talking about doing this in-house, I was like, you know what, that's actually pretty cool, because we had talked a little bit about it, and you were like, hey, I really kind of like this season. I was like, oh, that's good. So we'll have dissenting opinions. I'm okay with that. It was okay.
Okay.
I wasn't crazy about it.
Okay.
It wasn't my favorite. It was better than Iron Fist.
Well, I mean, that's punching up or down.
Yeah.
Rather.
Yeah. Iron Fisted may have been better than Iron Fist. But
not in your top ranks. It's not like fighting Daredevil.
Right. And here's where I hedge my bets and try to choose my words very carefully when talking about what I did and didn't like about this show.
Sure.
I have no problem. Like, most of the episodes, if not all the episodes, were directed by women, which is fantastic. We need to have more of that.
Yes.
I will agree. There needs to be more diversity. There needs to be more women involved in film and TV shows at the higher end levels, at the production, at the directing. I agree with all of that. Do we need more leading women in shows and in movies? I am 100% behind that as well. I totally get it, and I agree with it. I am not a giant Kristen Ritter fan. I never really have been, so right there, hard for me to really get invested in the show. I have never had any form of PTSD nor any form of addiction that I am aware of, so it's hard for me to relate. I can watch it and go, oh, the acting's pretty good, and I get it, and I get behind the characters, but typically it's not my kind of show. Had we not said we're going to review it and we hadn't reviewed the first season already, I'm not entirely sure I would have finished it. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. And before we tread on all of these sensitive topics, we should say that it's very, since Rob and I are very much of similar mind in that this show is our conversation that we're having about this, it's very easy for us to occasionally stumble on a stupid thing to say at any given moment. So please, a little grain of salt on this one, just in case one of us faux pas stupidly. That being said, I do I have addiction in my past, both personal and other people. And, I've known people with PTSD and, depression issues and how they compensate and things. And there were some aspects of that show, of this season, that I watched and was like, oh, that is very uncomfortable. That is very well-writtenly uncomfortable. So I definitely enjoyed that as a different type of superhero story, because I think Jessica Jones does a good job of not being Daredevil and not being Luke Cage, because I feel those are very similar in that fight super bad guys thing.
Right.
The things that it did well, I think it did exceptionally well. I feel that it has the same problem that I found with a lot of Marvel shows on Netflix, and that's they added, because they have a cast of characters, they feel obligated to use them. And I don't begrudge them that, but it doesn't feel... It felt like I was watching two different shows at times, because there was no real reason for one or two of the subplots to sort of interweave with this one, even though they have similar themes.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see the similarity between Jerry's story and what's going on with Jessica to some degree. And I can see what's going on with Patsy. Have it spread out over the course of all of it, so you're never not getting one of them in an episode for a minute. It felt a little like they're padding. And we've had that with pretty much every one of these Marvel shows, from Punisher all the way through Daredevil, with maybe the exception of season 1. There's just maybe 2 episodes too long. I feel like this one, the last episode, was the worst offender for we're padding. But overall, totally dug it, totally liked it, and I like what it does for what it does.
Okay.
So I guess that brings us to... They introduce... I think the one character I didn't really love was I didn't love the love interest story. What did you think of the new...
superintendent?
Yeah, what did you think of the new beau?
I mean, I didn't really have a problem with the character becoming some sort of love interest.
Sure.
You knew something had to give right in the beginning when he was very like, hey, fuck you, you're out of here, and was kicking her out. Because it was like you had this theory of, okay, so they're certainly not really going to kick her out, and it's not going to be one of those constant "you're out of here" like every episode, and then nothing happens. So at some point in time, the switch has to get flipped. I think having the kid. Spoilers, real quick, before we go any further. Okay, good. I think having the kid jump out the window just to see if she would save him because she's powered. Felt very ham-fisted. Mm-hmm. But the overall character, I didn't necessarily have issue with. Some of the other characters I had issue with, some new and some from the previous season. Mm-hmm. I typically found Malcolm in the first season mildly annoying.
Okay.
At his very clingy, hey Spike, what are we going to do today? Little dog, big dog kind of thing he had going on. This season, I was kind of torn. Because clearly Jessica has issues. Clearly she is dealing with them in her own unhealthy way. And she has a support group who, regardless of how often she fucks up, is still there to support her. And that's cool. That's what, people need in real life. But it's just, some of the shit that happened, I just felt that there were times that I think in real life he probably would have packed it in sooner.
Sure.
Like, after the 30th time, she goes, you know what, you're fired. And he's like, okay, great, fine, I'm fired. So what are we working on today? Kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm fairly certain at one of those points he would have been like, okay, fine, fuck you. Don't call me then. And at least just walked out. And at least not talked to her for 2 days. You know, to make her realize what kind of a douche she was being.
Yeah. I think in the first season, he was a character I was very hit or miss on. The parts that I really liked. And the parts I didn't, I was like, all right, why is he here?
Right.
I think that was very much the padding of the first season that I was sort of iffy on. In this season, I definitely agree that there's spots in this. He has the rags to riches story of this season, which felt a little. So he was the junkie kid in the first season, and then he was sort of the errand boy for her. But by the end of this season, he's like a partner assistant for one of the most vicious lawyers in the city. It felt a little. Wait, he's the best you can get. You're trading off $1 million watches for information, and the best you got is Jessica's cast off. So that weirded me out a little bit.
I understood that because Jerry is Hogarth is in a very bad place.
Sure, that's true.
So it's she was kind of she was plummeting at that point, and all of a sudden here's this guy in a $1,000 suit, which he probably spent most of the money that he's made on this suit to go out and do interviews and get to this point. And he got a surreptitiously filmed video of one of the partners who was trying to push me out of my own company so I can get dirt on them. So, yeah, I can very easily see why Jerry kind of, oh, my God, thank you so much, let me bring you under my wing kind of thing, because he helped her just as she was about to hit the pavement.
Oh, I did. I wanted to circle back to the superintendent really quickly, only because we didn't discuss this, and I've mentioned this in other shows and other things we've discussed. One of my big TV trope problems I have is the everybody's got a secret identity problem.
Right.
It's very big in shows like Bates Motel, which I love, but the problem is that there's not a single person in that entire damn town that isn't like a drug dealer or has a tragic past or they're
Sure.
identical twin, etc.
Right.
When you find out the superintendent is a forger, I was like, and he's just the superintendent.
Convenient.
Yeah. As well as he's the superintendent of the scummiest building in Harlem or the Lower East Side, wherever they are. I'm sorry, Hell's Kitchen. And then his subplot with his wife takes the kid and they spent bus money to go to Canada. It all felt very, we need something for this episode, and we need to see Jess interacting with her mom in a different situation, so let's give them an adventure. Him himself I didn't have a problem with. I think it was all the circumstances of the character that made me go, all right, fine. He's a very convenient thing to be living across the row from a private detective, and he's going to have some sort of breakdown. There's the breakdown. The wife is taking the kid.
Yeah. No, I agree. The whole, oh my God, they took the kid. They've always said they wanted to go to Ecuador. Where'd they go? I found a bus ticket to
Toronto.
Canada.
Yeah.
Why? Because I doubt Jessica can grab the tail of a plane and keep it from taking off. So we have to put them in a situation, but we have to put them in the situation that we can easily paint ourselves out of in the next 5 minutes. So
Although
they're hitching a ride to Omaha.
The pulling the bus might have been my favorite time, her using her powers, with the exception of maybe when she leapt over the golf club, the prim and proper club's wall.
Yeah.
Her dragging the bus back was super fun.
I mean, yeah, but we've seen it before. She did that with the car in the first season with the guy from the club.
But
it was a smaller vehicle, but
now it's a bus.
It's nothing we haven't seen before.
I think I liked the camera angle, the camera work they did, because they did this really interesting top-down shot of her doing it, which I liked.
Yeah, no, that was cool.
So I guess maybe we should touch on the major plot, because this is sort of in how Marvel movies usually give you the secret origin story first. They gave us Jessica, and now this whole second season is the secret origin story of Jessica Jones. You learn... It felt like they almost didn't think they'd get a third season. You learn how it got its name. You learn where she got her powers. You learn everything. Next season, they have a lot less story they can tell because of this season.
Well, a lot less background story.
Yeah,
they need to go into. They can focus on current stuff and going forward.
I'm concerned about what they could do going forward, because the first season they went with the comic book, not exactly, but they went with the Alias comic book, which is the story of the Purple Man. And in this season, they gave sort of the fictional, because it's not comic book related in the slightest, how she got her powers, which now presents us with, there's not much more in comics on the Jessica Jones bone.
Right.
It'll be almost completely fabricated.
Yeah, and we're not. Odds are, if rumor is correct, and by rumor I mean interviews with some of the cast, it sure doesn't sound like we're going to get a Defender season 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they. It seems to be like it was one of the reasons that, none of my new friends Luke and Danny were never mentioned in season 2.
Oh, that's a good point.
They apparently gave an interview, and Kristen Ritter was one of the people they spoke to, and they were asking her about Defenders, and it was basically like, well, since we won't be seeing that group again, they decided to go in a different route with the storytelling for Jessica Jones season 2. So yeah, it doesn't look like Netflix is interested in picking up a second season of Defenders, which I thought is a little disappointing, because at least in that kind of show, I'll say, how can I put this mildly politely? The weak links are minimized.
The one rich kid?
We saw a lot more of Daredevil than we did of some of the other characters. When it came to dialogue and stuff, everybody pretty much got their face time. When it came to plot and action stuff, I liked that we saw the most out of Daredevil, and then we saw a little bit less with Jessica Jones, and then we saw a little bit less with Luke Cage, and then the least with Iron Fist, which is pretty much how I ranked all those shows anyway. So yeah, it was a little bothersome that in this whole season they never even once mentioned
the hand and any of that.
Yeah, she could have at least looked down at her cell phone and had it be like Danny, and she's like, ugh, and swipe left, let it go to voicemail. But at least we're admitting that we have talked to each other at some point. There was zero reference made.
You make a really good
any
point.
of the other people.
I didn't catch that until you just said it, and you're 100% correct. It was the only link that really existed between this season and any of that world was, Jerry, and with a brief sort of cameo by Foggy.
Yep.
So and there was no Night Nurse, there was no Punisher, there was nothing has been referenced of the past wave 2 of Marvel Netflix.
Yeah, she could have got a stack of mail and she's going through it, bills, Danny, bills, just toss it on the desk kind of thing. But at least there would have been that one little hook.
Yeah, a cast-off reference. We're still paying.
That would have connected it, exactly.
Yeah, we're still paying we're still paying off that Chinese restaurant, construction bill, something. I agree.
Yep, nothing at all.
Huge flaw, huge missed moment that does make me fear where the Marvel Netflix is directing towards, because it really felt that once they got to Defenders, I was a little concerned about what they were going to bring about, and with the sort of, and this is getting away from Jessica Jones just a smidge, with the sort of dominance of Marvel shows moving to other channels, because now they're doing the Cloak and Dagger series, there's the Runaways series on Hulu, and there's a few X-World series through Fox, that I wonder if the relationship of Marvel Netflix is sort of wearing off as Disney is putting together their own streaming?
That's hard to say because I don't think they're being affected by any of the other shows that are going to show up on other networks. I don't know if I read with the Disney streaming thing. I think the Marvel stuff is still going to be on Netflix.
Yeah, I think Netflix is a partner on those specific things. So
yeah.
it'd be hard to separate them.
I don't know about like Star Wars or MCU stuff on the Disney streaming thing that they want to start in 2019. But it definitely seems like in the bigger MCU picture, the TV shows, I mean, they're not even getting the back seat. They're kind of getting the trunk. Which is unfortunate. You know, I just read a thing about the Coen brothers who were doing Infinity War. And they're talking about, there was a big to-do about the people who aren't on the movie poster for Infinity War. And there's apparently some fairly major players in the MCU who we have seen in previous MCU movies who might not be in Infinity War. And then they were asked about the Marvel TV shows, and they're like, oh, well, we don't have time to include any of them. And, like, I mean, as I have mentioned before...
Yeah.
There is a very simple way that would take all of maybe 3 minutes to include the 4 Marvel TV shows that they have. Well, the 4 Marvel Netflix TV shows and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Literally could take 3 minutes to include all of those in this movie and show a little bit of paying it back to them since a lot of these shows have included things from the movies.
Yes.
So just to get that kind of brush off of, oh, well, we don't have time. It's like, okay, really? You've had 20 movies to get to this point. I'm sure you can spare 3 minutes.
A quick correction, Russo brothers, not Coen brothers.
Russo brothers,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Russo brothers, you're correct.
My brain went, is it?
I don't even
No.
know who the Coen brothers are. I know there are. I don't know what they do. I don't know.
They did Fargo and those weird, the weird burn after reading, that sort of thing.
Russo brothers, you are correct.
So back to...
Sorry, guys.
Back to
Because,
Jessica
they
Jones.
listen, so we have to...
Exactly. The Coens are close buddies.
Yeah.
Lebowski. So back to Jessica Jones. The plot line that I think I liked the most, even though it made me cringe the most, was the Patty storyline throughout the entire thing. Trish. Through most of the season, you just want to punch her. But
so she was one of the, I'll say, brighter spots.
yes.
Because I don't know what kind of like CGI or practical effect stuff they did, but when she was like drawn out and then she took that inhaler and you could just watch her inhale and suddenly come back to normal, and all of a sudden like the glint came back in her eyes and you could see the sharpness of focus just appear in her face. That was pretty cool. And I liked how she portrayed going from kind of skittish and unfocused and I don't know what's going on, and then she'd take that inhaler and all of a sudden she was like, calculating shit at a mile a minute. That was very cool. I swear to Christ, I wanted to punch my fucking computer every time her fucking song came on.
The Cray Cray song?
And I hated it and loved it even more at the same time when Jessica's hallucination of Kilgrave comes around and he's like, hey, I want you cray cray, like sarcastically just crowing this thing. I was like, okay, that is absolutely horrible, but that song deserves every second of horribleness of him singing it, so I'll allow it. But yeah, the whole like the kids party where she was dressed up in like the fucking the
sequiny rainbow
the
thing.
laughing 60s sequin, and the kids could care less, but the fathers were all like, it's Patsy. It was like, you're creepy. This is so very wrong.
It reminded me of the opening scene of Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah, that's actually one of the Easter egg things here on Den of Geek.
Oh, okay.
They're talking about Trish Walker dressed up in her old costume and singing the It's Patsy theme song is A, hilarious, B, a subtle homage to an early scene in Ghostbusters 2, or C, all of the above?
Because the actors who are portraying the fathers that hired her are palpably like getting off on the fact that they paid her to sit there and sing a song.
Yes, closet pedophiles in front of their kids?
Yes.
Quite possibly, yes. Yes.
To the point of the way they did her CGI, or makeup anyway, they did that with her, and they did it with Jessica in a very different way. Between scenes, when you'd see Trish, after having taken the inhale, her eyes were less drawn. She looked, for whatever, somehow, less gaunt. She looked like a person, but still had that sort of crackhead edge. In the same way that when Jessica, after, for example, her mom knocked her block off and the side of her face was sort of bloodied up, every scene after that, her face looked just a little bit better until she just has sort of this red slash just under her eye where you can see where the initial wound was. But it goes through the phases, and we're talking over the course of a day in movie time, from where it looks like she just got the shit beat out of her to it goes through the phases of like darker, yellow, gone. It was a nice little touch to show the passage of time, as well as, yep, that's how her power works. She's getting better at the same time with Trish. Yep, this is what happens when she doesn't get a hit, and now she's okay.
Right.
The scene, and this was one of those ones that sort of emotionally kind of go, ugh. You guys had some. I don't want to know your source material, but this is some on the point source material. And the only way I can, for those who have never had an addictive relationship, when she hasn't taken a hit in an exceptionally too long, and she runs into the house and she's trying to find the inhaler under the couch cushions. She's just dumping her bag. She's going through everything she can just for it. I've seen somebody in that moment, and it was picture perfect because it's just blind, frantic. We've seen her look in her pocketbook 4 times for this thing already.
Right.
And she just goes and just dumps it all out because maybe she missed something in the inner fold. For those who've never had that, imagine if you were a smoker and you've gone into the cigarette butt bowl to find the one that has like just 2 drags on it. That's all you're looking for. It's that times way uncomfortable amounts. Her addiction relationship and her hunting for what she's supposed to be thing, with her doing the Patsy thing at the beginning, and then we seeing that her song was this insipid piece of trash, and her finally recognizing in the throes that her talk show program is just fake again, that she starts to see herself as what she really kind of is, and that's a very fake person trying to find out what she should be.
Right.
And that's why I liked her narrative.
Yeah, no, I didn't mind her narrative at all. It was, like I said, it was probably one of the things I had the least problem with in this season. Not even there weren't even problems. It was just that I enjoyed watching, that I could get behind. Her meltdown on her radio show was epic.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, like you said, it like she had this moment of clarity where she realized, like, holy fuck, my show is literally part of the problem of why society is the way it is, because, which dog groomer you go to, we're making a massive and huge decision on the fate of the universe in your life, when really who the fuck cares? There's all this other shit that's going on that we're not focusing on. And then how her guest was trying to power through it, Well, eating the right veg, fuck you!
You say gluten is a life or death issue.
Well, for the people who are shut up! It was that I really liked. And then just watching, the producer chick with the headphones on, just having this slow, oh my god, she's going off the rails, kind of meltdown just happening on her face as Trish just went off the rails. Mm-hmm. Was pretty fun to watch. The full sort of circle on her storyline ends when
again, I guess the spoilers be damned, when she's the one that shoots Jess's mom.
Right.
Which, as a note, was filmed, was directed, camera work, keeping that information away from you for as long as possible, was done really well.
Right.
I enjoyed that, if only because it makes me want to understand their relationship for if there is a next season. I think at the end, this season may have felt that there was closure, but there was just enough left for me to be like, oh, okay. So at the beginning of this season, Jessica seems almost put together at first, and then we start to see like, oh nope, everything's still shit. This season, it ends with everything pure shit.
Yeah.
Like the only thing that's okay is she's got a boyfriend. And the moment where she's the one that saves Jessica because Jessica couldn't do it and all that, it felt like it was a finale to the tale of Patsy.
To the tale of Patsy, I'll give you as a show arc. Things got really kind of muddy, I think, towards the end. A lot of this season to me felt like most of Breaking Bad to me, where there's not really a whole lot of redeemable people in here or people that I want to do better, and everybody is just kind of a reflection of everybody else.
Yes, there's a lot of that.
Trish had a lot of the same addiction things. Jessica basically self-medicates to try to get through the day. Mm-hmm. Trish was doing a lot of that this season. We see Malcolm has traded in his junkie addiction for a sex addiction. We see Jerry all of a sudden has her own issues going on because of the health information that she finds out. So now it's kind of a, burns brightest, burns briefest kind of thing. And she's basically like a whole, fuck the world, I'm going to do what I want kind of thing. So it's almost like as each of these characters are telling everybody else, no, don't do that. There's a better way. I'm doing better than you. They're really not. And they're kind of echoes of everybody else on the show, to the point where you realize not a whole lot of good people on this show.
Right.
like not by a little bit. So the story arc of where everything ended, I felt was kind of weird for everybody at the point that they let off. But for the Patsy stuff, for the Trish stuff, it is interesting to see where things will go if there's a season 3 on it. Because I wonder how much of Trish shooting Jessica's mom was... I mean, God knows I wanted to do that to Trish's mom through most of this season.
When Trish wakes up and the mom just shoves the nurse out of the way, so she goes, oh, she's all better now. Oh, I wanted to push her through the hospital window.
Can I tell you, this is, I don't know if this speaks to how bad I am or the makeup and costuming for the show, but I was pulling up, Wikipedia and IMDb to get some info on stuff, and I'm going through the cast, so I make sure I have the name of, the guy who plays Malcolm and everything else, and da-da-da, and I'm scrolling through, and I'm like, holy fuck, Trish's mom is Rebecca De Mornay?
Yeah.
Like, this is the first time I noticed that out of both seasons. I'm like, holy, like, wow, why did I not notice that before?
Acting.
But yeah, Dorothy Walker definitely needs a punch in the box. She was just annoying. And I'm sure that's the point. Hey, applause for the writing. Bravo, because I fucking hated her. Again, just like Breaking Bad, half hour into the first episode, I'm posting on Facebook. So, is it correct that I want to push his wife down the stairs every time she comes on my TV screen? And my friend Akana is like, yeah, no, that's going to continue through the whole series. I'm like, oh, okay, good. So, bravo. Good writing, because I hate her. Same thing with Dorothy Walker. There is nothing that I like about her, and if that's by design, hey, awesome, you did your job.
I think the only difference between the two characters is Walter White's wife, for most of the series, is legit not a bad person. She's dealing with a husband who's having secret everythings. In this case, Dorothy is legit just horrible. And Jessica, at multiple points, points it out that she's just holding, she's using Patsy versus, helping her daughter.
Well, yeah, she's not even. Dorothy Walker isn't even living in Dorothy Walker's past. She's living in Trish Walker's past, because she realizes, I personally have no future, and I don't even have a past. I have to cling on to what my daughter had when she was younger. It's she was very annoying, but again, the writing was good because I'm pretty sure I felt about her the way the writers wanted me to feel about her. So kudos to them.
I figure before we get to the main story, we can talk about the other the other major subplot, which was Jerry's. And this was the one that I felt was most tacked on. Jerry was very much a part of season 1, and in this one, once Jessica dropped off, what was her name? Was it? Damn it! I can't remember.
Inez?
Yes, Inez. Once Jessica dropped Inez off, it felt like from there, Jessica has very little to none discussion with Jerry. A couple times with the mom in the prison, but their stories don't interweave. Like those scenes could have happened completely outside of Jerry's story. The subplot where she completely gets hornswoggled by Inez and Shane. From the minute Inez said, "Oh, there was another guy, and he was a healer, and it's exactly what you need right now," I was like, she's getting hammered. This is she's just getting one pulled over on her. So the more it went on, the more I felt, and I understood that they wanted Jerry to feel like she's super smart and she's super analytical and she's very Sherlock Holmesian as a lawyer, but because it was about herself, she was utterly blind to the fact that this guy's just another con artist. She needed it to be real, but I felt like it just didn't fit the rest of this series because at the end, it bared almost no weight. If at the end Malcolm and the other PI and her all got together in the same room and said, "Hey, we're going to do this thing," yeah, it adds some depth to Jerry, but I don't think it was enough to take up that much time. Although it did get to show you yet again how Jerry is both calculating and utterly cruel, because I did love the final scene of that, the payoff where she gives Inez the gun. I thought that was a wonderful sort of dark payoff if Jerry's going to be maybe the supervillain of next season.
Yeah, the thing that I agree, it felt like a very long con to get to where we ended with Jerry. I feel that between her still kind of having some sort of relationship with Jessica that's not terrible, although not great for each of them. For her, still, Foggy still being involved in her firm, with her helping Danny in Iron Fist. It almost seemed like she was losing her edge, that she was getting a softer side. So it seemed like they had to go on this very long, convoluted journey of, hey, we're going to give her this critical health problem, and then we're going to have her think she's found a way out of it, and then it's going to turn into, no, it really was no way out of it. She just got fucked over. So now she's still living on borrowed time, and now she's pissed. So that's going to give her back her uber cruel edge. Like they had to take this weird weaving path to get to a motivation to make her even bitchier, because she now knows she doesn't have a whole lot of time left, and I'm still really fucking angry at these people, so I have to crank my shit up to 12 now to get what I feel is going to be my revenge before I don't get a chance to do it anymore.
And she's taking, and I think an important tag to that is, and she's taking Malcolm with her.
I don't know about that. Like, I'm still on the fence of Malcolm, because once he kind of turned that corner, nothing that he did was at face value for anyone. So I'm still not entirely sold that he is 100% in Jerry's corner. I think they could still play it that he's trying to help Jessica in the fact that, hey, look, Price is now with Jerry, so I need to help get dirt on him so we can help you again. Or I need to show you that Jerry's being far worse and you need to, completely cut ties and not worry about her anymore kind of thing.
Right.
I'm not entirely sold that he's just, all in with Jerry yet.
As being the character who I would say has maybe would say best moral compass on a very, very weird sort of low average scale.
The best moral compass when compared to everybody else on the show.
It would not shock me that whatever horrible thing Jerry does next, Malcolm, backs out and says, "I can't deal with this. It's not honest," and goes back to Jessica and says, "Look, she's doing this shit," and he's sort of this double agent. It makes sense.
And I wouldn't be surprised because it's one of those things where. Let's parallel it to relationships. You get involved with somebody who you find out has been unfaithful in their last relationship. Okay, maybe they were unfaithful with you. Maybe you were the other person in their last relationship, and now they're free. And all of a sudden, you get into a relationship with this person. There should very well be a lingering thought in the back of your head of, at some point in time, I'm going to get cheated on because that's what they did with the last person they were with. So if Jerry is not thinking this about Malcolm, then she deserves everything that she will get when that storyline comes through that she has been burned and fucked over by somebody once again.
Right.
Because that's what he's done so far to everybody. That's how he's gotten all of his information. That's how he got the information from the guy at the gay bar. He thought the guy at the bar thought he was being on the up and up with him, her other business partner, and he wasn't. The female business partner thought he was on the up, and he wasn't. So now he comes to Jerry, and Jerry thinks he's on the up and up with her. All he's done is played along. And she may very well be completely bought into it and not realize that she's also his next mark.
It's a fair point.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
And that leads us to Jessica's story, which we haven't actually wholly gotten into. Did you feel it was convoluted to get her mom back in? Or I accepted it and it was a smidge convoluted. Hey, they didn't die, etc. Or everybody died but the mom. Once that was introduced, I kind of accepted it as, this is good comic book storytelling, so that's fine. But I did appreciate that her mom's superpower was she was just Jessica plus. So whatever Jessica had was, since it's half the genetics of her mom,
Right.
That was sort of the nod. But what did you think of the mom as the villain du jour?
I don't know. I wasn't crazy about it because she wasn't really the villain du jour. She was the misunderstood anti-hero-ish
broken
of du jour.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like you said, it felt kind of ham-fisted that all of a sudden, miraculously, everybody but the mother, didn't survive. But then I was also of the mindset of, this isn't really going to end up being her mother. They're playing Jessica with the whole, oh my god, it's my mom kind of thing to get her to do certain reactions and behave in a certain way. But I was really 50-50 on that. And either way, I was kind of, meh, we've seen this before kind of thing
right.
in other shows. So it didn't drive me nuts either way.
I would say that the balance of her mom being not evil but broken balanced well against the doctor who was, because he had his obsession, to get back to that, of just doing evil doing evil science, because that's what he does. He couldn't stop doing evil science.
Everything focused back to some sort of addiction that people couldn't let go.
Sure. I liked, at the very least, I liked that the struggle was in Jessica, that her mom was utterly unredemptive, but the part that's unredemptive isn't her mom. I felt that was at the very least, a very good balance.
Okay.
To make the relationship with them not simply, you are evil, ha ha ha, I shall destroy you, ha ha ha. It allowed for them to have comments and conversations. I think legitimately they had too many of them.
Sure.
There's a good half hour of that final episode, which is really just them bonding further. That I'm like, it's the last episode. Somebody's dying.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going. I know you're trying to make me feel guilty about this, but it's not going to happen. Her killing Sunday in the episode previous, which was a surprise for me. I think that might be my surprise death of the show. Just because she seemed like a good character. I guess they had to drop somebody, but no pun intended.
Right.
Once she killed the cop just to get away, I was done with her. Like, I could see her killing Chang to defend everyone. I could see her, even to some degree, I could see why the craziness goes after Trish. The grabbing indiscriminate person and just killing them because it's convenient made her unredemptive to me.
Well, I think that was by design. I think that was by design because at that point, I think the writers wanted the audience to no longer be on the same page as Jessica. I think for most of the season, people may have, you could argue the point of, but it is her mom, and she was only doing these things because of X, Y, and Z, and you could make those arguments. Innocent person off the roof? Yeah, no, sorry, all bets are off. To have Jessica be the unreasonable one from that point on out. So I was, it was shocking, but like I said, I'm okay, sort of, with that storytelling decision. I'll tell you, the guy that you did mention, who was probably my biggest thorn in my ass this entire season, was fucking Price Chang.
Right. Okay.
I could have gotten with him getting thrown off the roof by like episode 3. I was just so fucking done with him. He's like every alpha beta in Revenge of the Nerds. He's like every rich entitled fuck that you've ever seen in any movie or any TV show. The kind of guy who walks into a bar or into a room and starts talking shit to everybody, and, I'll beat the shit out of you. And then the minute gets punched in the mouth, it's like, I'm going to fucking sue you, how dare you punch me. That's exactly his fucking attitude. He was going to come in and take everything over, and once they pushed back, it was, I'm going to fucking sue you, da-da-da-da. And then when he found out that didn't work, it became, well, then I'll just shoot you.
Yeah.
His whole personality just crumbled like a fucking house of cards that was almost comical. Every time he came on the screen and just whined even louder about what he was going to do and the threats, it was just like, somebody just fucking kick this guy in the nuts already, please.
I do not disagree. At the beginning, I thought he was going to be the character I thought he was probably going to take the end of the season Trish perspective, where he would have been the, look, I'm the rival PI guy, but we're working together on this last thing. If you were to ask me in the first couple episodes, that's exactly how I would have penned him as. He ended up being a very different sort of, why are you still here, other than continuing to motivate plots.
Yeah, like he really seemed like the connected, empowered, slick, moneyed, I'm I'm going to make shit happen, and I'm going to get stuff done because of my contacts, because of my finances, and I'm constantly going to be a thorn in your side because I'm doing things just slightly better than you are and just slightly quicker than you are. And then it just became, like the bully who gets punched in the mouth at recess. It was so annoying to have him on my screen. Ugh, he was the biggest thing I hated about this episode, about this season, was just the annoyingness that he kept cropping up. Trish gets Jessica out of jail, and all of a sudden he does the quick walk across the street, pointing a finger and yelling at her. It's just like this, and then you could almost see, and then there's this motherfucker, in the middle of the conversation between Jessica and Trish. He served no purpose. I could not see any value in having him in this season whatsoever.
Now, on the comparatively, I really enjoyed the head cop, whose name eludes me at the moment. I'm looking it up as we speak.
Oh, yeah. Eddie Costa?
Yes, Detective Eddie Costa. John Ventimiglia. Easy
I'm wondering if relationship to Vito.
I liked him as a character. I thought he was... from the beginning, he said, look, I remember what happened with Kilgrave. I remember the gun. And he sort of revealed his weakness moment, his PTSD over it. And that's why he helped out Jessica throughout. I think in the last moment where the last thing we hear from him is telling her, stay away from your mom. I'm going to get these two cops. They're going to follow you everywhere. Stay away from it. And he does it for the right reasons. He does it for protective, almost dad-like reasons. We just don't want...
Sure.
We don't want you to see us kill your mom.
Yeah.
And then I really thought there might have been a bit more severe moment of when he walks up and he looks into the booth and he sees that Jess has, as far as he's concerned, killed her own mom, where there would have been a bit more of a reprimand. But to the same, he was, in fact, my favorite sub-character because I felt his motivations were simple but pretty pure.
Yeah. No. I was okay with everything that he did. I thought his portrayal was really good. I thought the acting was good. But yeah, no, I totally agree. And he is not related to Milo Ventimiglia.
Which one's Milo? Is that
Heroes?
Oh, okay, yeah, that is the dude from... That's Jesse. That's Jess from Gilmore Girls.
Yes.
Fuck him.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm very anti Rory and Jess, and you can send letters on that.
I do not understand anything you said, but okay.
Somebody out there is pretending to write an angry letter.
Oh, now just for that, prove him wrong. Write an angry letter. Somebody write an angry letter and send it to us.
Spite him. So the back and forth between the mom and her, I thought it played out well enough. The other subplot that I understood why they made decisions. I understand from telling a narrative and telling a plot, and you needed Jessica to see herself as her mom to get her to that last couple episodes. The psychopath cop was probably a step too far. The the suicide patients who he actually obviously probably killed in some way, shape, or form. She goes and kills him by accident, which I was, again, a little too far, but I understood what they were going for. Again, a little hammy, I guess is the right word. But it was a subplot that they could have done at a 1, and for some reason they decided to do it at an 11, and that made it feel too much.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'm fine with a shit cop. I'm fine with a shit cop doing mean things to inmates to get across the point that Jess goes and has a confrontation with him. The fact that they made it abundantly clear that nobody liked him and he's weird. Why was he the head guard in charge of the worst criminal in the entire fucking prison. Unless, I guess, maybe the higher-ups were like, yeah, just throw Dale. Everybody thinks he smells like cheese. Send him to the one that might kill him by accident. Yeah, it didn't fit as well for me. It just felt like a little bubble where they could have played it at a lower volume.
Yeah, I don't know. It felt very cliched.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that the guy, you know, the cop who's running the baddest detention center in the prison is also kind of a fucktard too.
Yeah, that Jessica's mom is having a Rounders moment. No,
Yeah.
not Rounders. I'm sorry, Sleepers.
Yeah, I don't.
You okay over there?
Yeah, no, my mic fell over, but
All of a sudden, all I hear is wappada wappada wappada.
yeah, no, that was my bad. My mic fell. I flipped the table. You started talking about it. Yeah, I was just thinking about how. Yeah, but it was. I don't know.
It just fits. It fits in that.
It was eye rolling to me.
Yeah.
You know, when they're having the whole "eat your goddamn protein" and now I'm gonna beat the shit out of you and force feed you your steak as I cut it up into tiny little. I was just like, was kind of how I watched that whole episode.
Yeah.
There were
After
many moments like that.
after just taking all of the things on her shelf and just sort of knocking them up and ripping the photo, like it was a little cliche.
Yeah.
So, some of the Easter eggs of the episode, I did get a laugh the minute that Whizzer introduced himself, because Whizzer is a formal Marvel character, and to find out that this guy, she's going through all of the crazy people, and lo and behold, this guy's actually a superhero. It was originally from USA Comics #1, Whizzer, Robert Frank. That this sort of crazy guy who thinks everyone's after him, and they used a classic sort of Silver Age bad character, might even be Golden Age, 1941. Former Avenger and All-Winner Squad, the Whizzer. They chose it. It's Golden Age, but they chose him just because his name was Whizzer.
Yeah. No. Absolutely.
And he wears a big. If you go look at a picture. He wears a bright yellow, skin-tight superhero suit.
Yeah, with a big blue W on it.
Yes.
But the funny thing is that if you look at a picture of the guy from Jessica Jones, he's wearing a yellow hoodie and he's carrying around like some sort of like bright blue like backpacker duffel bag.
Oh, I didn't catch the yellow jumpsuit.
Which are the same colors as the Whizzer's outfit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, poor Whizzer. He got randomly dropped.
He had a scaffolding fall on him.
Yeah. And it was Jess's mom that did that? I don't remember who did that one.
We think so.
Yeah, okay. It's never really sort of tied into the rest of, like, she never kind of goes, and why'd you kill Whizzer? Or if she did, I missed it or skipped over it. What other Easter?
I like this quote here on Den of Geek. The whole "my balls are tingling" and Jessica's crack about his scroty sense is A, hilarious, B, the closest we're probably ever going to get to having Spider-Man formally acknowledged on these shows, or C, all of the above. They do mention that they're not sure if it's an Easter egg or not, but the Super's kid makes Cap a new shield because he lost his shield and attaches it to him with a magnet, which is something that they did in the 60s with Cap, where he had magnets on the back of his glove to help control and catch his shield better.
Okay.
They also say that him jumping out the window to because you'll save me because there's a superhero in the room is very reminiscent to Lois Lane calling out Clark Kent and jumping out the window.
I did notice that.
To have Superman save her.
Dr. Carl Malice, who was the one who performed all of the I enjoy performing surgeries on random people. He is a actual in-continuity character from Marvel Comics, originally appearing in Spider-Woman number 30 in 1980. Faced off against Captain America and was briefly in the Frightful Four. And also later become a symbiote.
Right.
Of course.
I did think... I'm reading something here, and I'll bring it up. When Jess and the Super get it on in his room and knock over the gallon of purple paint, I was like, oh, subtle.
Yeah.
Like there were so many whatever good things happened, there were an equal number of just ham fist over the top things. I think I even made a Facebook post as one of the final episodes where they're running after Jess's mom, and they run out the back door of the kitchen, and they roll the trolley with like 25 empty cardboard boxes in front of the door. And then the cops open up the door, and as they open the door, they knock all of the cardboard boxes out of the way. But one of them still kind of like has to trip on one to slow him down, and then they kind of stop with that whole damn it kind of thing. And I posted, we'll never catch them now that these empty cardboard boxes are in our way. It was one of those bad like 70s TV cop show things that they did.
Why are we driving through the farmer's market?
Exactly.
Now I will say one of the highlights of the season, and totally understood where it came from, thought it was well put together, was she only sees Kilgrave after she's killed Dale. Like,
right.
Kilgrave appears seconds after when she's cleaning up the house and whatnot. I loved how that, because it was obviously like this is a fully triggered experience. She actively killed Kilgrave. She now has actively killed this guy. And so now he's the Joker in her ear.
Yeah.
It was very reminiscent in the most recent Arkham game. You killed the Joker in the previous game, so he's gone. The game starts with the Joker being incinerated. But he appears very early on in the episode, in the game, and then you realize, oh wait, Bats is just completely kind of going bonkers because he's seeing the Joker everywhere. And so you're swooping through Gotham, and all of a sudden you fly by a building, and Joker's leaning against a smokestack and going, "Where you going, Bats?"
Right.
I liked how Kilgrave appeared right after that moment and continued to be sort of a thorn in her brain, but obviously being her brain. David Tennant can.
I was a little disappointed that it was just like a hallucination and brain games with her. I know we saw her off him in season 1, but comic books being what they are, I was really hoping that somehow, some way, he was actually physically going to make a reappearance. I guess it almost doesn't really matter whether he's physical or not, because as long as he's playing around in her head, he's still controlling her in a way, whether she wants to admit it or not. So the threat isn't gone just because he's physically not there.
And in a comic book way, they could, the manifestation of him is viable as a future enemy in some way. I mean, when she's seeing him on every street corner, in every person, and she almost chokes that one dude out, you nailed it. He's still in her head. Yeah.
I would love if she starts seeing him on every corner and every time she turns around. I would love for his comment to her at each time would be, "What's up, Doc?" You ever see the Bugs Bunny cartoon where the guy's going crazy and sees rabbits everywhere?
Yes.
And every person he's talking to, Bugs turns around and it's just him in a costume. "What's up, Doc? What's up, Doc? What's up, Doc?" And the guy just fucking goes crazy. That would be awesome. Little throwback to the adults in the room.
Plus, more David Tennant equals more good. In general. The last Easter egg I have is the art when the superintendent gives her the painting as well as all of the art in his walls is all done by David Mack, who is he did almost all of the Jessica Jones covers, all of the ones from the original run anyway. And then he's a fairly prolific cover artist. He's done some of his own work as well. If you've never gone and looked at David Mack's art, I highly recommend it. He does things very differently, and that's what makes them very iconic. It's very sort of splashy and chaotic, but occasionally he'll do something a little more traditional, and even that has a very specific tone to it. He did a book by the name of Kabuki that was excellent, phenomenal.
Okay.
Yeah. But I did like seeing it was very nice to see my friend Tom, who is a comic book savant, had tweeted the day after the show was put up. He goes, "It is amazing to see David Mack on a Marvel show," and I was like, "Oh, I can't wait to get to that." And then when I saw it's a cover of an Alias issue. I don't remember which one is the painting she opens. It was great to see just that they're nodding to the roots and the art as well.
Right. And I did like how they kind of used that to tie the two of them together. You know, like they saw the painting he did for her in her office, and then when they went into they saw the painting as well. So they put the cops, when they put the two and two together,
yes,
to put that. I thought that was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that was a nice little touch.
And that's where I agree, where that's the part of the show that works. And there's a lot of those like well thought out bits, the cop, the art. It's just some of the extra chaff that they could have swept under. And I guess my go-to with Netflix shows at this point is it's because they fulfill a certain number of episodes, so there's no way they can't pad them.
Right.
Anything else, my friend?
No, not really. It was, I mean, don't get me wrong. I have friends who have posted on my Twitter and on my Facebook that they absolutely loved this season. And I'm sure that there are things in there that resonate and appeal to a very large portion of people who watch the show. I, unfortunately, just wasn't one of them. I wasn't overly crazy about it. That's not to say that there wasn't some great acting moments in there. But overall, it wasn't the type of show that I would normally actively go after.
I respect that. And from both loving the character in the comics, and in some ways being able to at least, see some of the artifacts of these people in people I've known, and seeing how well they were portrayed and done, with a certain amount of respect. It wasn't reefer madness, clawing at yourself because you smoked a reefer stick. Right. That it was given a certain amount of gravitas and thought. I definitely give the show a thumbs up. Some missed opportunity, sure, but I'm used to it at this point. It's, again, a lot better than watching Danny rant.
Yeah, I guess the most annoying thing is that even if we take Defenders out of it, they're not even tying into like the bigger picture anymore. You used to have Night Nurse was kind of the connecting theme, and I would hate to think that the only reason they did that in the previous episodes was to make Defenders make sense, and now that we're not doing a season 2, we don't have to connect any of these shows that exist mere blocks away from each other. Yeah. Her mother was being kept in cell block D. I'm pretty sure that's the same cell block that they keep Fisk in. So, couldn't even the guards have made some sort of comment of, oh, hey, after we deal with this, we have to go check in on Wilson kind of thing? Just anything to throw out there to continue admitting that all of these things are taking place in the same city or, in the same neighborhood. And just none of that was there.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Once you said it, I realized the void that was that point. And And I have to just assume, so Netflix holds on to their data very, very tightly.
Oh, yeah.
And for good reason. We could prattle on about that later, but I have a feeling there must be a certain amount of diminishing returns on some of this, if only because we're not getting a Defenders 2. Maybe they felt they paid too much for it. Maybe they didn't like the way it came out because it was, average to above average, somewhere in there. But once you made that point that the show had no connective tissue, I agree that it was a notable void, especially because of things you've already mentioned. Fisk also being in jail. They mentioned the raft, which is connected to some of the other Marvel stuff, but that's about it, and none of it was direct to Daredevil, The Hand, Elektra, Fisk, Punisher, any of it.
Right. And what kind of, okay, so let's say that all of your metrics say, hey, you know what? The Defenders thing didn't do nearly as good as we wanted to. So we're not going to continue on with that connected part of the universe. But, what kind of monetary loss do you think is going to hit your series or your viewership by putting in a line like, hey, we'll be right there, Fisk is throwing a fit, before we get to, it's a throwaway line that continues the continuity that everything is taking place in the same location at the same time, and yet costs you nothing. Yeah. You're not paying any additional actors to make any sort of cameos, but you're just admitting that you're in the same place. And I don't see how that hurts anything.
I would agree, especially since...
I'm not the guy making shows either, so I'm not getting paid to make those decisions. I could be entirely wrong, but I just can't see how that hurts. The only thing it does is it keeps that door... It doesn't even keep the door open. It just lets people know that there is a door that you could open should you decide to revisit anything in the future.
Yeah, especially since it was so tightly connected through sort of Wave 1... In that,
right.
It was the same mob kingpins, and each one of them touched one episode or another. Madame Gao was in, 3 of the series. So once it's subtracted, it leads to the question of why did you subtract it? I totally agree with you. And thank you for bringing it up, because
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Throw a scene where they're at a hospital and pay Rosario Dawson $10,000 to while Jess and Trish are walking towards the camera, she just walks down a hallway behind them and crosses the screen. Don't even give her any lines. I don't care. It's just the fact that somebody can see her and go, oh hey, look, there's, you know what I mean? Yep. To just keep the I don't know. It was. To me, it was very annoying, and as the season went on and it continued to not be there, it just the silence on it became more and more obvious to me, and it was just incomprehensible as to why that was the direction that they chose to go in. And I'm sure that we'll see it again in Daredevil Season 3, and we'll see it if Luke Cage gets a Season 2, and if Iron Fist gets a Season 2. We're probably going to see no references to any of the other shows or relationships that had been made in any of the crossovers or cameos, and I think that's silly.
Do you really think? You think that at this point it's there's not going to be much in the returns? It's gonna Well,
if they didn't do it for Jessica Jones, I can't see why they would suddenly change track and do it in the other shows, especially if they're not doing Defenders Season 2.
Now, just taking a quick glance here, there was one connecting tissue, very, very subtle, was Turk. The guy who got Jerry the Gun. He's appeared in, let me see, he was in Daredevil, he was in Luke Cage, The Defenders, and The Punisher. So there was one. And I guess we should nod that, although it was a character who I honestly only barely remember from being in previous shows. Because he's sort of a low-level thug guy.
Right.
So, yeah, it's maybe... I don't have much of an answer. I'm
trying to pull up the article that they talked about. So this is a interview that was done with Kristen Ritter.
Okay. Who, as a note, I know you're not as much a fan of. I didn't think I was going to love her in this show either, but she grew on me. She's much more Jessica Jones than I expected her to be, and she fits that bit.
Right.
For me, anyway.
So this was an interview she gave with Vulture, apparently, in regards to Defenders. She said, "I had a great time doing the Defenders, and honestly, it was such a good experience that I would even do it again. I don't think we're doing it again. It was never intentioned to do again, but, if I was given another opportunity, I would."
Okay, well, that's...
So the fact that it sounds like her comment of it was never intentioned to do it again, I find odd and disappointing. That they would set all that stuff up across, 4 different TV shows to go into it going, hey, we're only going to do a one-shot 8-episode season and then never touch it again.
Well, let's... I mean, we could hypothetically... there's the other hypothetical of it might not... The next thing might not be the Defenders. They could do another big Marvel crossover type plot that isn't the Defenders, whether it's
and I understand that, and even
something like that.
Even if that's the route that they go, Heroes for Hire, whatever.
Exactly.
Even if they go that route, that's great. But
where's the connective tissue?
Exactly. Yeah. Don't write off and retcon any of these relationships that you made just because we're not doing it.
Well, and let's hypothetically, there's one other point that maybe we're speaking too early on, because Jessica Jones is the first one since Defenders, correct?
Jessica Jones Season 2 is the first one since the Defenders, yes.
So there is sort of the hypothetical that if at the end of Defenders there was, we'll call it a soft reboot.
Right.
That perhaps whatever Jerry is planning and putting together is the first step towards the next big to-do. I mean, we know the direction Daredevil's going in. So I'm not entirely sure how those pieces could fit together. But I don't know. Or rather, we know where Daredevil's going in Season 3, I should say. Because of the way he ended in Defenders. So, I don't know. I'm spitballing. It's an utter spitball.
Right.
That this could be the beginning of sort of the next chapter. But not referencing the end of the last chapter does seem very missed opportunity.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Well, that's about that. What did you, faithful fans, think of Jessica Jones Season 2? Love it, hate it, agree with us, disagree with us? Have a bunch more references that we obviously missed because you're so much better than us. Yeah. You can email us at somethingcast@gmail.com. I meant, obviously, somethingcast@gmail.com.
I have to believe that after 4.5 fucking years, you're just doing this on purpose.
Do you know why? It's because when I go and I write us emails...
You're fucking Thrakazog from the Tick.
I just type in the word something, and Gmail autofills.
Yeah. At STSTcast on Twitter, somethingcast@gmail.com, somethingcast.com on the web. Our Patreon, patreon.com/somethingcast. You can hit us. Where else can they hit us? You can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Stitcher. You can find us on Google Play. Yeah. I'm not going to tell you how to find us on those. It'll be like an Easter egg hunt.
Go for it. Find them all.
Exactly. I'm going to throw one last thing
Please.
out before we sign off. I'm not going to explain any of it. I'm not going to get into it. But if you are fans of this show, I'm going to ask you, check out Pre-Recorded Live at Pre-Rec Live. They also have a website, Pre-Recorded Live. Matt, Becky, Joe, love you guys. We're thinking about you. But if you're fans of this show and you're fans of comedy podcasts, definitely check them out.
Yes. And one last mention. I know it was the first thing you heard when you started this up. Please go check out the Epic Film Guys live stream. It's definitely for a good cause. We support it and love them, and you should too.
Yes. That is March... No, I'm sorry. That is... What's the date on that? April...
I put it at the beginning of the episode, so I don't have to remember it.
No. It's in May. May, I'm looking it up right now. May, it should be the 25th, 26th, and 27th, I believe, is the live stream for The Cure. Definitely check them out. Right now, we are idiots because we did all this and put it right in the beginning of the show, and this is kind of spontaneous that we're bringing it up right now. But definitely at epicfilmguys.com, check them out. They have all the information on there. But definitely tune in and listen to it. They're raising money for the Cancer Research Institute. They did $2,500 last year. They're looking to double that this year. So definitely give them a listen and help out. A lot of great causes. A lot of great shows are being involved. So definitely check them out and help them out.
And I think on that altruistic note, we should just sort of take a bow. So, Thank you all for listening. We will see you next time. I'm James Hatton.
I'm Podcast Rob.
See you later.
Later.
Something. Okay, here we go.